could be the real deal. Right here, you and me. So tell me we're on to something. Baby, don't leave me hanging. Giving you all my loving, but how am I supposed to know if you feel the same way or if you want me to stay? Baby, just give me something. How am I supposed to know? We've got all this time.
I love it. Hola, hola, hola.
What's up, man?
¿Qué tal?
Oh, you're so Spanish now.
I'm so Spanish now.
Welcome back, dude.
Soy muy español.
Yeah, you're very, very Espanol.
Welcome back. This is episode 22? I think we're 22 now. Took a week off last week. I was in Spain trying to take a vacation.
And you're back to
enjoy
save
my
the
life.
markets, huh?
Yes, I've been back for 2 days, and I already want to go away for
Yeah.
like 6 months
get
or
out of
something. Yeah, good times. Anyway, welcome back, everybody. Welcome to everybody in the chat. I see Cameron. I see Mark Murray. That's a new face. What's up, Mark? What's up, Josh? Juice. Good to see you, man. Thank you, everybody who joins us live 5 p.m. on Thursdays on the YouTube. Hopefully you didn't forget about us while we were gone. Just curious how many of you would give up on me after I took a few days off for the first time. And
We can't quit you, man. Nobody can quit you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. If you're listening to this on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, consider joining us on YouTube or at least liking us on YouTube at Irresponsibly Long Pod. Still trying to juice those numbers.
Oh, yeah. Let's get a like on
Show me that
like
you
on the vid. Yeah.
appreciate all the hard work I bring to this. I actually, there was a lot of feedback I gathered in the comments last episode.
Like what?
I took to heart. Well, one person I think was like, "This is a little scattered. I can't follow it."
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, that was very scattered. I was doing a lot of rambling.
And
I agree.
we're going to be adding timestamps.
We're doing timestamps. That was the other big thing I got.
Hold on. Let me figure out. Let me do
You
that.
did do the thing we talked about so that we could have timestamps, right?
Well, dude, so Armand's got a different solution.
Oh, wait, what's that?
It's a tech solution.
A tech solution.
Auto timestamp.
There's
thing.
auto timestamp?
But
I mean, that has to be a thing.
Yeah, but on this version, I think I'm going to try to do it manually, but
Yeah.
we'll get it done.
Okay. We'll figure it out. We will get you the timestamps. Sorry. And I will try to be a little more concise, Not a great public speaker, but such is life. Anyway,
Doing
how have you
great.
been, man?
I'm fine. I'm good. I didn't come back from Spain. I feel like I would be better if I came back from Spain. I did enjoy some nice Spanish wine last night. That was delicious. Delightful.
It was technically Mexican wine.
Oh, you got Mexican wine to do the Spanish.
Made in a Spanish style, yes.
The Spanish style reminders for those who didn't catch it yesterday was red wine mixed with 7-Up, Diet 7-Up, right?
Yeah. Tinto de Verano.
It was good.
It's a drink. I remember when Vitalik posted that red wine and tea or something was amazing, and everybody on Twitter was like,
Oh my God, I do remember that. Yeah, what was he thinking?
I get it now.
Yeah, okay.
And was it Carne Asada Chris who told me I had to put Coca-Cola? I had to do the Coca-Cola and wine combo.
Dude, you're going off the rails
I'm just
now.
going off the rails now. I've just all the guardrails are gone. We're spiraling.
Wait, hold on. Do you have
out of control. What's up?
I'm looking for Notion. Oh, you put it in that. Okay.
Oh yeah.
I thought it was under the Irresponsibly Long thing. Here we go.
Wait, it should be. There it is. Yeah. IL-22.
Yeah,
Says it right there.
That's in the alpha.
It's
pod
always
topics.
there.
We have an Irresponsibly Long tab as well.
We do. I've literally never put episode notes in there.
There's 2 in there.
You must have moved them.
Okay.
Oh man. Dude, I had a rough day. I woke up and for some reason I was listening to Joe Rogan weeks ago, and I finally convinced myself to buy Alpha Brain.
Oh, that's his supplement stack or something?
Yeah, I was just like, my brain needs help.
Yeah.
Maybe it works. Who knows? I took 2 this morning, and I felt like I was having a fucking heart attack all day. I felt like I drank 19 cups of coffee.
Well, because you stopped drinking coffee to begin with, right?
I didn't know there was stuff. Is there caffeine in there? I don't know. I literally thought I was going to throw up all day. I went into the shower I put on like a Bitcoin long, and then I just went into the shower and tried to throw up.
Oh God!
Oh God! So bad.
Dude.
And I just kind of lied on the couch and just it was ugly.
Were you hungover from Tinto de Verano?
No, it wasn't even hungover. It was just the alpha brain.
Oh wow!
Just alpha puke my face off.
Careful, dude. You're gonna Marquez Brownlee that whole business.
I also saw somebody in the Discord today in the Magic Lines channel. They've made a nice little Photoshop. They said I was like a booper because I own this boop meme coin. Actually, I thought I owned this boop meme coin. When it pumped the other day in Spain, I went and I checked my wallet. I'm like, wow, I'm probably up so much money on this. I had like, and I look in there, and I accidentally sold it.
Accidentally?
Yeah,
How did you accidentally sell.
Because I didn't mean to sell it. I thought I still had it. I was like going on a clearing spree and doing everything in my wallet. It pumped like 38,000%.
What?
Like I think I had like $300 left, and I was like doing the math. I'm like, oh, this would have been like $14,000 or something. And then I got really sad.
I'm sorry, dude.
Yeah, I'm a no booper now. I'm sorry, fam. Sorry, boop army. Is there a boop army? I don't know.
Damn, this timestamp solution is not working.
It's not working. All right,
We'll do the tech solution.
we're just gonna have to rewatch the episode on 8x speed and,
Yeah.
and get it done.
If anybody wants to do the
We'll get it
timestamp
done
for
for you
me,
guys.
thank you.
Yeah, volunteers, please. Anyway, let's get into the markets. So I'm sure you guys who are listening know it's been a bit of a bloody couple weeks.
That's a gut punch.
Last 7 days, just a sea of red on CoinGecko here. We got Bitcoin down 10%, ETH down 12.6%, Solana negative 18%. And I think some of the memes have been hit very hard. I think my beloved Pepe is negative 30, with negative 26, even after the rally.
Armand back in the lead yet?
That's a good question.
Doge?
I might be owing him a steak dinner at the rate we're going. I mean, Doge is down 23%, so not exactly a high flyer. Yeah, I think the only coin in freaking crypto that was up this week was Ondo.
Man,
The only real coin. I don't know where Ondo is anymore. I saw it on here. Last I saw it was up like a couple percent on the week, but maybe we'll talk about that later. But yeah, I mean, we were sitting here before I left, and I was definitely feeling optimistic on the quarter, especially for Bitcoin. And I think we were talking about how I was a little confused that there's this sort of like dichotomy presenting itself, like the Bitcoin chart and then like everything else.
yeah, you were particularly bearish on Solana.
It just looked weird. I mean, I was like, well, Bitcoin looks like it wants to go sideways, but then Solana looks like it's going to go into the 120s for some reason.
Yeah, and
I don't see how this is possible, but like
that was a really bold call at the time. And I think it wicked even below that.
Yeah, I figured out this happened because I was just in Portugal, just enjoying a glass of wine and eating some fruit, and then a notification went off on my phone that my limit orders at like 1:15 had been filled, and I was like, excuse me, what? And then I checked Twitter and like, oh, there's missiles flying, and that was basically the end of my nice vacation.
Yeah, sorry, man.
Yeah.
Well, you got a good buying opportunity there.
This is the life I choose. Yeah, I mean, it bounced to like 135 and very quickly, and then I just sold it, and then
good trade.
Just went back to yeah. Thanks. Only down like 20% on the rest of my portfolio, but whatever. Fortunately, I sold a bunch of trash and stabled up a little bit, so all good there. But yeah, let's hop into the charts. Let's zoom out because some things have happened even just since I left, which was not that long ago. Things aren't looking very good. Main thing we got to watch out for right now. This trackpad is going in the opposite direction I want it to. So sorry, guys. It's going to be a fun day watching me operate the charts.
No.
But we got the dollar up on the screen, and the dollar has been sending, unfortunately. We were looking before for a little breakdown around here. Thought we were going to get it with this reaction off this this gap here. And nope, the universe has other plans. Looks like we are heading firmly for these 2023 highs here, unfortunately. And I think where is that? 107.335. Yeah, I think we're gonna.
Where are we at now?
Where are we? 106.2. So not looking great. I mean, when the dollar is spiking, it's usually a bad sign for risk. I mean, Nasdaq is not looking good either. We'll look at that in a second. I kind of think this mid range of this gap is like a decent target.
Ooh, that would be pain.
Yeah, it's kind of pain. Was that 108.8? Ooh, I mean, could be some blood if we get there. So that's bad sign number one. Bad sign number two, Nasdaq. It's not looking good, bro. It's not looking good. So we're in the midst of printing a very nasty weekly candle here.
God.
Yeah. So we topped out 18,728 or so. We're down 6.5% from the highs.
So was that the all-time high?
Yes, from all-time highs. This is the futures contract, of course, I should mention.
Okay. NQ.
Yeah. I was looking at this chart and just like admiring how good these range projections did at kind of calling this level. Like this is the target zone this is from the bottom in October 2022, right there, and then we had another sort of consolidation towards middle end of last year here, and then had this other manipulation, and that put us right here. Look at that. Magical. Where are we going on the downside? You know, I actually think there's a pretty good chance we bounce from this little zone here, because we kind of ran all these lows, had all this trend line liquidity built up, and we kind of ran all that. But I think this zone here is kind of like a nice little unmitigated area, so I think decent chance we get a bounce there. And that bounce is probably for selling, I think, if we get it. Unfortunately, you sometimes don't get that bounce.
Right,
right. Those of us who were around in November 2021 recalled.
And what it could bounce up to the level we're at now, basically. You know?
Yeah, like I mean, I'd be looking for a bounce, like maybe into this daily fair value gap here, and then looking for lower. I think first target is probably like 16.5. If I were a betting man.
So what is that on a percentage basis from the highs? Because
so that would put us at a that would be about an 11% drawdown from the high.
I think that's kind of interesting, because I think even in a bull market you can see like a 10% correction and just have that be kind of like a healthy pullback without really breaking anything.
Yeah, I would agree. I don't know if we stop there, because you know I still think we just have this entire consolidation here, just untested from end of last year, and you know price tends to want to seek demand. So I don't know if this little zone will hold us. I think worst case we probably dip like that'd be 21% correction to the 14.8 level.
At
maybe.
that point we'd be talking like it's over.
If we get another 11% down in stocks, that's going to be that's going to be a little bit bloody for sure.
So probabilistically, is that your base case scenario, that 20% down is like most probable, most likely?
No, I wouldn't say that, but like, you know, my well, you know, but before I talk about this, I want to run a little social experiment here. I want you to describe to me the path you see crypto taking over the next 18 months.
Well, I can't describe necessarily like
There's no wrong answers. Just tell me like what you feel. You must have like a mental framework. I feel like everybody in the chat has like a mental framework. Hey, chat, if you have a framework of how you think the next 18 months goes,
I sort of like
drop it in the chat. I kind of want to see like what everybody's thinking right now.
Yeah, it's a good question. I'll be honest, I don't actually think like this, but like because I'm thinking long term. I think in 18 months prices will be higher than it is today. And I almost don't care about the path. If you're asking me what I think about the path, I would expect volatility. So, you don't go up in a straight line. And I feel like a 10% correction on Nasdaq is still pretty healthy, and that is common, and that's fine. And you probably would expect larger pullbacks in crypto.
I want you to give me a Bitcoin price. I want you to give me some time frames. Where's Bitcoin in the middle of summer?
I have no idea. But what I do think is that it wouldn't surprise me at all if we're at 50K Bitcoin. That's not even that far down from where we're at now. So, even like high 40s wouldn't surprise me.
When do you think we go up?
I have no idea.
You're ruining my social experiment. I know you have no idea. If you knew, you'd be a trillionaire. You wouldn't be on this damn podcast.
Okay, so I guess you're gauging my level of like bull tardation. I'm
not even your level of bull tardation. I'm gauging like where you think we're going, when you think we're going, like the general path. Like everybody has like a path to kind of feel like the cycle is taking. They have a destination, when we're going to get there, and kind of like where are the bumps in the road along the way going to be.
Okay, so my path is that largely we're up and to the right, meaning like I think prices go higher, but along that up and to the right, there's going to be bumps. And, if that bump comes now, so be it. That's fine. I think if that bump extends from now into June, I would probably be surprised. That seems like too long, but if that happens, then also so be it.
All right. So we got a few people in the chat. Rectum, BTC, 59K, July. Tunsky, shake out in the next 3 months. Summer crab, autumn up. Tunsky, how low you think we go on Bitcoin? I'm curious. Pause and pump for election in 2025. Bluff it. Yeah. So it's my perception right now that everybody on crypto Twitter actually basically has like the same consensus idea of where the cycle is and where it's going. And also we have like the Discord too, alfalfapod.com if you're not in there. So I have like this kind of window into how everybody's sort of thinking in real time. And it's like interesting, like you get these periods of time where like everybody is like completely out of sync. Like last summer or so, or spring was like a good example. Like there is wild, like where it's going lower, it's going higher. The bull's just getting started. It's starting in a year. People are all over the place, right? But now, what is like a little bit concerning to me is that there is this sort of consensus, not just about like the price and everything, but like also like the timing on everything. Everybody right now thinks that Bitcoin is going to break down from this range. It's going to settle into like the sort of mid 50s and get bought up, and then alts are going to bleed. And then we're going to sort of like V reverse higher. And then like have a pump into the election, and then cycles over next year or something, right? Like that, right? That's worrisome to me because markets never do what everybody's expecting them to do.
You think it's too herd mentality. When you get too many people thinking that same way, that's when it doesn't happen.
There are two things that I think most people are not thinking about right now. And there's like actually some sort of subpass of these things, right? But let's start with Bitcoin, and we'll talk about everything else. Like the one thing everybody's not really ready for right now is that actually that monthly low that we talked about 2 weeks ago that I said like might not actually get broken, actually does hold.
Right.
And then
so 2 weeks ago you said, as a reminder, you said the low was already put in for the quarter.
Yeah, I thought there was a good chance that that monthly low would hold for the quarter, just on the basis of how that monthly chart looked, how the quarterly chart looked on Bitcoin. And then, but there was this divergence between how strong Bitcoin looked with how like alts looked. And, you know, I kind of explained my reasoning for why, for example, on Solana, I thought that weekly low was like very likely to get, or that taken out, and we might potentially even like go down to the last month's low.
And that low on Bitcoin is still intact currently.
It is, yes. So the one low we haven't run here. Let me pull up the corn chart here for everybody. We got some doodles on here. Excuse these doodles. God, I'm so upset with this mouse right now. It's like when you're playing Call of Duty and the aim gets inverted. And you gotta like.
Does that actually happen?
Yeah, man. Like some you get that weird friend who plays Halo with like inverted
I hate
aim, and you just take the controller after him, and you're like, "What is wrong with you?
I hate that.
What is wrong with your brain?" This low here. What is this, Coinbase? So yeah, this is like 59.2K on Coinbase. This is the monthly low. Like if I open a monthly chart here, you can see that low is very much intact so far. So one thing a lot of people aren't talking about is the idea that like we just rip up from here. And this is a common thing I see. Like Bitcoin prints these like really precarious structures and everybody thinks we're going to die. Like the most recent one was just a few months ago. People were very, very bearish in this kind of 40K range that we were in. Like this looked very ugly when we broke down here, right? But I think I was very publicly talking about on this show like how this is not like really a breakdown. Like this is lower time frame stuff. Like if you pull up a weekly chart, something that matters, like that structure is very much still intact, and we're probably good. And the same thing happened this summer as well. Like we printed quite an ugly, like look where we were here, right? We had this insane dump in August. Like you remember this thing?
Oh yeah.
This was nasty, man, right? So you see this mega dump, and you see this low right here, and you're just like, "There's no way that shit's gonna hold." And then it just does, and then we go up. And in retrospect, you look at that, and you're like, "Wow, it just held the low. Of course, why didn't I bid there?"
Freaking launched after that.
Launched. But at the time, this was very scary, and I myself was surprised this wasn't taken, because I was actually planning on, tapping some part of this down move here that I thought probably there's a good chance that would be retested and mitigated before we went higher. So like at least like a nasty sweep of that, right? But it didn't really give you that.
Well, you said this and it stuck with me. One thing you said is that like in a bull market, you don't always get those like clean retraces back into those zones and the 50% level.
Well, that's true once you leave, right? So look at when we leave the zone, what happens, right? You get this. This is classic Bitcoin. You get this mega strong break. You leave this huge daily fair value gap here. We don't even test the gap. Never mind that high, right? So you just had to suck it up and market buy there, or else you were just left behind for a long time. And even this move down to 38K that like people freaked out, like that didn't really, that like barely even tested this consolidation, right? So when this thing is going, it's going, and it doesn't let you in. But I was I was caught a little off guard that low held back in the summer, because Bitcoin does like to fake out to the downside. But in retrospect, like this was sort of like the accumulation, and then this ended up being sort of like the manipulation in the entirety of it, right? But I was expecting it to go lower for sure.
Can I ask you what like the three phases might look like on a forward-looking basis from here? Like the accumulation, manipulation, distribution, what those phases might look like?
Yeah, I will talk about that.
Okay.
I'm going to keep the show on track and not rambly, and finish my thought first, because we were talking about
nice call.
Consensus thinking
Right.
and how this might be different in Bitcoin, right? So one way this is different is we just sort of just YOLO up here, and then everybody's just left waiting to bid 52K, and they're caught behind, right?
Right. I see that. I can see your logic there, going back to the past to look at this. Yeah.
I think it's very possible. Like I don't think this is the most probable outcome, but I think it's possible, right? So that's one scenario people aren't really thinking about. Another scenario that is also probably not likely, but that could happen is like something like this would just be very funny. Just like vol compression for like,
Oh man,
4 months in this range while just all alts just like bleed to death.
that doesn't feel likely to me, even
Just-
though I know a lot of people probably do believe that.
I think very few people believe that that's going to happen. Like almost nobody. The other thing that people aren't really pricing in that I think unfortunately is probably higher probability than people want to believe is that, you know, we just do something like this and then everybody bids 52K and then we just actually just mega nuke and then
God, don't do that.
I just find it hard to believe that, yeah, we break down, everybody bids 53K, and then we reclaim all, and then it's just like that easy, you know?
I mean, if that were to happen, then everything's dead, I think. Like Nasdaq, stonks, everything, all risk is pretty much just
Yes.
kind of, it's over at that point.
Which is, of course, possible. I don't even think Nasdaq would have to die that badly for us to get, you know, low 40s on Bitcoin. Like, I don't know if we go sub 38. It's possible, I guess. But, you know, the main element of this that I think people aren't prepared for isn't so much the price. It's like the time they would have to sit around and wait again for the coins to go back up.
Right. Because we just spent 2 years sitting and waiting.
Yeah, like everybody thinks like I'm entitled to
Right.
all-time highs.
We
and
earned this
I
shit.
earned this shit. I've fucking been here. I bought the coins, and now the coins have to go up because I sat around like a good little boy for the whole fucking bear market.
That's right.
But the market does not have to give you what you want. And I don't mean to bear porn people. I mean like everybody has to just break out of their thinking. Like there's just like such a consensus of what's going to happen.
Edmund says, if I see you draw that again, I'm flying to San Diego. You don't want those quads in your face.
I don't. They would be wrapped around my face in a way that's probably very, very uncomfortable. But yeah, I mean, look, I'm gonna be honest with you here. Like, I also feel like the thing everybody thinks is kind of the most likely thing to happen. I think where I might be different is that like I am prepped for like a longer time for this to happen, where Bitcoin does sort of consolidate and dip a little bit, and then we go back up. I do still think that is like the most probable outcome.
Would you say like your scenario A that you drew out, which is like we actually kind of just go up from here? That was like your scenario A. Do you think that's what most people are expecting? Is that
No, I think very few people at this point, except for like the full retard Bitcoiners, you know.
because like I'll tell you one thing that puts me in the camp of A actually is that I've been trained recently to think differently, where like we get these V-shaped recoveries now, like starting with COVID, and then if you like right now we're dealing with the threat of war. And the last time we had Russia break out with war in Ukraine, the prices went down for like a week, and it was a V-shaped recovery. COVID, V-shaped recovery.
I don't think that the war, look, obviously the war was a bit of a catalyst for prices to nuke. The prices were going to nuke anyway. Like we didn't nuke because of the war, right? Like literally the timing of it, yes, but like we were going to nuke, right? Like there's a couple dynamics like we've talked about here a little bit. So I don't know if it was like a month ago or a month and a half ago or something. Like I talked about how I was just over the L2s and I just dumped them, right?
Yeah.
Because I was like, this narrative is so consensus. And then I also was thinking a lot at the time just about like the sheer volume of fucking coins on the market, right? Like there's just so like the new coins, the airdrops, the inflation in the existing coins, the unlocks, like the raw amount of trash being dumped into the altcoin market every single day is like insane, right? And last cycle, we had the ability to kind of like mop up this supply because we had like full post-COVID, 20 IQ shit going on. We printed trillions of dollars. Everybody was getting like free checks from the government because they're small business with like one employee was entitled to like $75,000.
Right. So much, so many stimmies coming in.
Stimmies left and right, and forgiven debt here, and like, and then on top of that, we also had like a massive credit bubble within crypto where we had like Zoo just come in and just borrow all of the debt.
Leverage the tits
and just kind of just put the entire market on his shoulder and just like took us up, right? And we just rode that wave of idiocy.
Yeah.
We don't have like a functioning credit market right now in crypto. We don't have like the exact same, like there is still excess in the system. It is one of the reasons behind my longer term bullishness, but it's not like this fresh bazooka cannon of COVID. And it's like a worthwhile question to be asking, like, will any of this trash like actually really mega pump, or are there just so many coins now, so many airdrops, so much dilution, so much inflation that like stuff like Bitcoin, stuff like meme coins, right? There's like meme coins that don't like, they have the full supply out, right? There's no unlocks. Those are interesting. Stuff like Ethereum, which I know is like very hated, is very sustainable, tokenomics.
So would you say this is accurate? Because like I think you're doing a good job of describing the supply side of coins. There's just like so many, right? There's supply just increasing infinitely, and on the demand side, there's like really not many new net buyers on chain. It's like all the inflows are coming into the ETFs or to Bitcoin, and like none of that money is touching the chain. So there's nobody buying, no new people really buying this trash, and there's like a limitless supply of it.
Yeah, I mean there is so the bull case, right? There's stuff in the bull corner, right? Like one of the things you have to talk about is obviously like there's been a very steady inflow of stables into the ecosystem. That's been nice to see. So there is new money coming into the system. I do think it's like an interesting question of like how many new users are here. I don't know. Were you there the other day when like I was talking to Armand about how there was no retail in the market? It was like a PvP,
right?
And he was offended by that notion.
And that's exactly what I'm saying. It's like everybody is just sloshing the same money around in the bucket. The bucket is like on chain.
Yeah, like I feel like we're still mostly PvP.
Yeah.
Right now, like I think we've seen some green shoots of new. I don't even like to use this term retail coming in, like, because like I'm fucking retail, okay? Everybody in the chat, you're retail.
Everyone's
okay?
retail.
it's like everybody's like, oh, wait until retail comes. It's just like you are retail. We're all retail. We're looking for maybe like a more caveman version of ourselves, but we're most of us are not mega quant like whales with like the ability to move markets and so. But it does feel like we are mostly still sloshing money around within ourselves. But I think like within the crypto ecosystem, like you had, for example, like the Solana people got very, very rich, right? So that was kind of like a stimmy to a lot of the ecosystem. So you had people in the ecosystem getting rich and kind of, but like Ethereans are still poor.
Well, what about question in the chat? Somebody just asked, like, is Eigenlayer going to be the next stimmy to the Ethereans?
Man, I hope so. I hope so.
This could be like the biggest rug ever too. Like just not like a rug, but like just like something that doesn't come to fruition.
Yeah, I'm wary of it again because of how consensus it is. I just have like a.
What if we just get billions of points and nothing else? You just get a bunch of points.
I don't think they'll do that. Yeah, it is an interesting question of like how much that's going to charge everything. Like I don't know. I don't have a good answer for that. Like I am of the mindset really that Ethereum is basically like a longer term institutional driven play right now. Like you're playing the ETF long game. you're playing these larger pools of capital coming in, like big money.
Talking
right?
BlackRock.
Talking like the BlackRock,
the Buildle Fund.
Yeah, and like, and you know, we were talking about Coinbase becoming a $500 billion company and like putting their weight behind Base, and you know, like I think stuff like that is going to move the needle. Like I don't. And look, it's hard to see this coming in advance, but like I don't know what like the DeFi moment is going to be, where like Robert Leshner invents yield farming, and then suddenly like we're up 20x or something. Like
Right.
It's hard to see what that is, and it always is in advance. But like I don't.
I mean, the only true real like innovation that could be that is eigenlayer and restaking. That's the only thing.
I still don't get like who's going to be like where all this like demand for the restaking is going to come from on day one. Like I don't get it. Right. So yeah, like Ethereum ecosystem, I just don't see these. Like I see like solid fundamentals. Right. I do. I see a coin that doesn't inflate. I see a coin basically with cash flows and yield, and I see an ETF on the horizon. I see all these things. I'm cozy holding it in like my longer term portfolio. It's not something I like to DEGEN around with because it doesn't move. Right. But like for like a long term perspective, like I see it all there. So I'm cool with it. What was I talking about with Bitcoin? Oh. Yeah, so Bitcoin in particular is interesting because like look, so bull case, you got a monthly chart here. This monthly chart is pretty clean. You got the close above all-time highs, solidly above, right? That's a good point. One of the bad points that's already in development here is that like when you break through a high, it's a lot better to break through the high and put in like imagine if the high was here and we put in like a fair value gap.
So you're saying put like a with strength, like
Yes.
burst through the high.
We've already guaranteed that there will be no fair value gap on the monthly through this high, right? We've already closed this candle. We haven't closed it, but we've already traded below it, right? So the fact that we close above a high is good. It's a point. But you can't take that check to the bank.
It's not enough strength.
It's just a good thing to see.
Yeah.
It's not enough to YOLO your life savings in. So that's good, but you know, current action iffy. And if you pull up like a 4-hour chart, like things objectively look a little sketch here, right? You've got basically like a deviation above here, right? You've got another one here. You got another one here. You've had price go above the all-time high 3 times and fail. It looks like a bit of a distributive rounded top, right? It just does. Like this is kind of what it looked like at the beginning. Well, excuse me, at the middle or end, however you want to say it, of the last cycle, where you had this like kind of like you put in a top and then you fail and then you fail and then you fail again, but then it's just too much and you collapse, right? And again, like you could have said the same thing, you know, here. You're like, oh, look at this low, it's so solid, and it just nukes through it, right? So sometimes the danger with like looking at these high time levels is by the time the high time frame thing plays out, by the time the monthly low gets taken, you're like, oh, like we're in a
I'm already down 30%.
like Solana's a good example of this, right? Like where's the Solana monthly chart here? Okay, yeah, let's pull up the Solana monthly chart. Dude, like look at last month's range. It's like this trackpad is driving me nuts. I'm so sorry. Like this is the monthly low at 110. So you're up here at 200, and then we nuke to like 100, and you're like, all right,
Wait,
we
so
broke the monthly low.
Can I get this right?
50%.
Can I get this right? In 1 month, we went from 110 to 210, basically.
Yeah. So when
the
people
hell?
were kind of like, what do you mean we're going to go to 120? It's like, dude, not even the low of last month.
Yeah,
The volatility in this stuff is so
crazy.
insane, right? Like January, the January low of this year, $78. Like what goes up quickly can go down very quickly.
Yeah.
Important to keep in mind. But yeah, so like I was saying with Bitcoin, like although on the monthly you can kind of make this strong case, and even the weekly still I think looks like it looks like relatively okay. Like haven't taken that low. Like, again, not like the best thing in the world. The problem comes when you start like looking at some of the 4-hour charts, and the problem especially comes I think if you pull up like a moving average, and for example, like here's a total 3 chart. This is basically all altcoins besides Bitcoin and ETH, and I've also subtracted out stable coins from here.
Okay.
I'm gonna turn off this indicator because we don't need that, and it's cluttering up the chart, right? So like look, if you zoom way out on this chart, it's like pretty good, right? Like a pretty strong monthly close. Like this zone on the left here is obviously like this is a thick zone. It's just like a massive order block, right? It's not necessarily like the market, the bull market is over because you didn't go through this in one candle, right? But that being said, like a rejection off of this area can give you like a nasty pullback of like, you can go like 45% down on just like a pullback, but still be like kind of bullish. So
yeah, I get that. Important
to keep that in mind. But like if you pull up every single altcoin chart and Bitcoin in general, like and this is something that you guys can use in your own trading if you want to just like have like a sanity check, right? Like where are we? This is a 4-hour moving average chart. Like I use these things on like my moving average charts. I have like a trend. So the trend, I think, you see these like little three lines here.
Yep. This
is a 13, a 25, and a 32 EMA. I think I jacked these settings from a peer. I like them, so I stole them.
Nice attribution.
Thank you. I do try to give credit where credit is due on this program. And then I use a 100 and a 200 MA. So the shorter duration stuff is like interesting for like lower time frame trend following. Like you don't want to really be longing like scalps on the 4-hour chart, like if you're below trend, right? But the higher time frame stuff is useful for like, well, like where are we on like these multi-month horizons? And like you can see like we've pretty violently nuked through like the 200 here.
Yeah.
And this chart, which is basically all alts, is what basically all alts look like. So I'm giving you like a snapshot of what everything looks like kind of in one chart here. So at this point in time, like when this happens, my brain is not like, oh, I'm going to buy here and like hold for new highs. Like I'm like, oh, I'm going to buy this dip. I did buy these dips, but now I'm just like, I'm going to sell rips. Like we're in a downtrend, right? Like this is a downtrend. Like you have to shift.
Yeah. Trend has changed now.
Yeah.
That's important.
It's a different world now. And again, like this is Friday the 12th, right? When was the last pod we did? Like
2 weeks ago.
Like the beginning of April, like Thursday, April 4th. April 4th, we're bouncing off that. Didn't look super good, but it's not like it was like a hard, like, oh my God, we're fucked. But now it's like you just have to pay attention to that move.
Right. That's a trend change. That's a actual shift in market.
V reversals where you just go down and come back up, they are the exception, not the rule.
Yeah.
Right? The rule is generally that you bounce, you put in this wick, and then like you're going to come up here and run into this.
That'll be resistance
average,
now. Yeah.
And it's going to feel pretty good, right? And then you're going to dump again. Like that's the rule. Like that first nuke is not usually just like the bottom and you buy that and it's over, right? That's just a reality of how it is. But I think like I've loaded up on a bunch of shit right now, and this may age horribly, but like I did go into a lot of cash, and I bought a lot of stuff on this dip, right? And you definitely have like a bit of you familiar with like an Adam and Eve pattern?
No. What does that mean?
This is pretty common where you have this spike, and then you have this kind of slow curl up.
Okay.
I find these to be like pretty good bottoming patterns. But I think we're going to come out of this, right? And you could get a rip of like, 20% back up here. Like that'd be a pretty big move. You're going to basically give back or take back like almost all of the dump. And then people are going to be like, woo,
So you
We're so back.
You're playing. You're long right now, playing this bounce back to the trend line, the long time frame trend line, and then you'll probably exit at that point. That's your play.
Yeah, and look, I'll illustrate this with like Bitcoin, right? Like my again, this is an idea. Again, don't take it to the bank. I'm not a friggin' fortune teller. It's an idea, but I think it's a decent idea. I think the fact that we kind of nuked all the way here towards this monthly low, didn't take it, right? And again, look, didn't take that level there, and then we swept it, failed to close below, pull up a weekly chart, again, sweep it. We're going to put it in a weekly sweep. It feels like this move down has sort of exhausted itself. We've got negative funding, spot is trading at a premium to futures, like a lot of shit's been wiped. So barring some sort of exogenous event, like Israel launches a nuke at Iran, in which case, like, okay, just kiss everything goodbye, it's over, right? But barring that, like, I think it's not super likely that we just nuke down from here into the 50s. It feels far more probable to me that we trade back up and we try to fill some of these retest some of this demand. And if you look at this move down, although it's been kind of vicious, there's not like a ton of displacement here, right? Like, look at this chart. There's a fair value gap here on the daily, but not like an insanely impulsive move on Bitcoin like you see on alts, right? And when you see like a structure fail, you usually see that large displacement. Like, that's like a good sign that stuff is kind of fucked. Like, look at Nasdaq, for example. Nasdaq, like, I saw this happen and was like, oh shit, we're fucked. Like, this gap here, run all those. That's the type of puke that where I'm just like, okay, that's not looking good, right? But Bitcoin, you haven't seen quite that move yet. You've kind of seen this. It's been kind of a slow bleed, right? But like, these slow bleeds can be dangerous. Like, one of the ways you do nuke sometimes is the slow bleed into the zone, and then it goes whoop.
I mean, I like these charts are so useful and helpful, and I thank you. I think everybody thanks you for guiding us through these. But there are also like some catalysts in the near term that could lead us to a V reversal. Like on Nasdaq, we have like all the Mag 7 reporting earnings next week. Mm-hmm. And like we've seen earnings support the entire market before. You know, like Nvidia basically supported the entire market like 2 quarters ago. So I'll be obviously be looking at that, but I don't think it's as improbable that we just go up from here.
It's never impossible, right? I just think it's improbable. And I think you have to, as we say, like, look for fat pitches.
Yeah.
Look, I've been a mega bulltard for a long time. And a lot of the time I was a bulltard, I was very out of consensus being a bulltard. Everybody's still kind of consensus bulltard, or they're just like, oh, we'll just be like a little dip here, and then like it just feels off, right? And like when I looked at stuff like the dollar last summer, when I looked at stocks last summer, when I looked at crypto stocks, I was like I saw all these contraindicators. Right. That told a different picture. Like, I saw like liquidity going up. I saw like MicroStrategy and coin and like Bitcoin mine. They're all ripping while crypto stuff was going sideways. Like, all these things. And then you had like a very obvious catalyst in the BlackRock ETF that like I thought had an extremely high probability of happening, that the market seemed to not care. Like, there was all this stuff there. And now we have what? We have the halvening.
Right. Right. Well, that's a thing. I mean, but I get your point. Now we have like a confluence on the other side, a confluence of indicators that are pointing to a pullback.
The halvening feels like the perfect thing to me to just kind of like retest 70K and then have it be like the halvening could just be like the new merge.
Right.
You know?
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Could totally see that.
I, I don't know. Like there's just some like wishful thinking. Like we just wave our hands and just like all this money just comes in and starts buying it. I don't know. Like Bitcoin has looked strong. It is one of the strongest, if not like the strongest looking asset I can think of, right? That anybody would want to be buying, right? You can make like a strong case that there's somebody bidding in the background that like, I don't know, there could be like a nation state like bidding the freaking thing for all we know. And like, we only find out about this like a year from now. Like, I don't know. There could be some entity.
Well, we have
there.
seen like, have you followed this wallet that's buying 100 Bitcoin every day for like, I don't know, like half a year?
Yeah, I heard about that. Is that a real thing?
I mean, I don't know, but I'm wondering who could that possibly be besides like a nation state?
Yeah, and like, look, it's in the charts, right? Bitcoin's barely got a scratch on it. Like this is like a dip for ants. Like even from the peak to where we are now, we're down 14%, and it's been a fucking bloodbath in altcoins, right? So there's undeniable strength behind Bitcoin. Like somebody is bidding it.
So my high level understanding of what you're pointing out is that like if you want to be looking at any chart, they're all going to kind of trade along these lines of like all risk assets are going to kind of be in the same boat where it's like there's a confluence of information that's pointing to down, and it's still possible that we go higher, but the confluence of data is pointing to down, and that probably applies to every chart that anybody wants to look at in our chat, or myself included.
There's also an alignment of this with just like elements of price action that I trade. Like for example, like you were talking about, give me a picture of like how like your little accumulation AMD might play out.
Right. Because that's one thing I still don't quite understand what an AMD kind of like looks like.
Do you remember like what my first Magic Lines episode where I talked about quarterly theory?
Yeah.
Quarterly theory is like an interesting concept, basically talking about how price moves through these sort of quarterly cycles, and quarterly cycles themselves are these sort of like fractal things that like appear just a lot in nature. They're just some things that are everywhere for reasons I don't understand. Maybe it's inherent in the mathematics of stuff. I don't know, right? If you just talk about like how price moves, like price doesn't just go up in straight lines, right? It goes sideways, it accumulates, it expands either up or down. That trend gets exhausted, it retraces, and then a new period of accumulation happens. So there's like these cycles to price. Like we cannot go up forever. But oftentimes these like cycles like coincide nicely with, times of the year, times of the month, times of the day. Like this is like an important element of day trading, right? Like within the day, you have 4 segments. You have the Asia session, the London session, the New York AM, and the New York PM. And they're all roughly like 6 hours, right? And then within those 6 hours, even, you can divide those into 1.5 hour segments. And that's why there's these like kind of 3 hour windows where ICT type traders, they dub them kill zones. And that's where price moves.
Right.
It's because those are the high probability times of day where you're likely to get like an expansion quarter as opposed to a sideways quarter, an accumulation quarter. You don't generally want to be trading during accumulation unless you're like a god tier range trader and you're selling the top and buying the bottom. You want to be spotting accumulation, and you want to be spotting when that accumulation is ending and price is moving into an expansion, and you want to trade the expansion at a very high level.
I guess I understand that vernacular a little better, like the expansion, but I don't really understand how the phases play into that, like the accumulation, manipulation, distribution.
So here's an example from last year, right? And this is kind of like what I talked about on the pod, right? So in like the first quarter of a cycle, it's typically either like an accumulation cycle, or we can dub it like an X, which is kind of like a wild card. Like sometimes it's like it's a continuation of the prior expansion, or sometimes it's like a retracement, right? And when you look at like the sort of Q1 of a cycle, you can basically see like, is price going in a straight line still? If so, then it's probably an X. If it's coming back down, it's probably an X. But if it's like going sideways ultimately, then you're like, oh, this is probably like an accumulation, right? So if you start with an X, you're expecting the next quarter to be an A, accumulation. if you start with an A accumulation, you're expecting the next quarter to have a manipulation, right? And this is like similar to how people day trade, right? Like if the Asia session accumulates and the London session manipulates, they're expecting the New York morning session to be an expansion, and they're playing that expansion in the opposite direction of the London session. And sorry if this sounds like too much for people listening,
No,
but
that
this
was
is kind of
awesome.
like a window into how people like think about day trading. And like you think about the same thing in crypto. The same thing applies. Like if you're a day trader, you are looking at what London did, what Asia did, what US did, and it's going to affect sort of like what happens, in this session, depending on what happened in the prior session. And in the same way, you wake up in the morning and trade New York, and you look at what happened in London and Asia, you can look at a chart and be in the second quarter of the year, and you can think about what happened in quarter one and quarter four to think about what is now going to happen now and what is going to happen in the next quarters. Does that make sense?
Totally. So I would like to look at a chart and see with actual examples like what happened in the previous quarter, and then what would be the subsequent one.
Yeah, so here let me just mark out last year real quick on a chart. Like these are basically the quarters, I think. I may have mismarked that one. Put these in here real quick. Yeah, I fucked that one up. Okay. Let me just move this one because this starts in April. Okay. So there's roughly your quarters here. July, September. Yeah. And then let me put one more for the end of the year. And boom. So that's slightly...
Okay, that's roughly.
It's roughly off because it's like it's close enough for our purposes, right?
Yeah.
So we started the year kind of moving up. This is an X. It's a retracement from this prior leg down, right?
Okay.
Then this whole quarter is sideways.
That's accumulation.
This is accumulation. So This is your X, and this is your A, right? What happens in the next quarter, Q3, and this is what I kind of talked about in Magic Lines last year, right? You have this steep move down, right?
Yeah.
Right? So steep move down, steep move up. Fair value gap down, fair value gap up. You can see those here on the chart. There's your nasty move down that scared everybody, and then there's an impulsive move back in the other direction. So this whole thing is manipulation. The manipulation down here takes place in Q2. Mm-hmm. There's your manipulation. This is obviously expansion, right?
Yep.
So that's the D. Give them the D. All right. So last year was an XAMD, right? And now this quarter, Q1, I'm like, well, what's going to happen here? And I was, I was bullish after the ETF, like as we talked about. And I thought that price, I've said a bunch of times, I think price is going for all-time highs, or at least maybe going to top out in this kind of order block here. So, expecting expansion, which would make this quarter an X continuation, right?
Yep.
And there it goes, right? So what that means, probabilistically speaking, and again, I can't stress this enough, like when you're trading, you're very happy to have like a 65% sort of edge, 70%. Like that's pretty good, right?
These are guidelines. It's not a rule.
So I'm not saying it's going to happen 100%.
Right.
But again, like much in the same way if we were like sharps betting on a sports game where we had an edge, right? I think what like this is telling me, like more likely is like I'm expecting like A here, right?
Yeah.
Which is roughly sideways for the quarter, right?
Yeah.
And then that would take us into roughly July here, right? Now, if I'm still bullish on the cycle, well, that would mean I'm expecting an M, right?
So you'd see a sharp down move.
Yeah, so you might see, right, something like that. And then, like, I don't know, you could see that.
Yep.
Right? And like, accumulation doesn't have to be sideways either. Like, we can kind of, like, bleed like this kind of slowly.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe hover above this zone and then you could have like a nuke into that zone and then back up,
Right.
and then you're expecting there's basically be the same pattern as last year if this were to happen, and then you'd of course have your D, finish the year with the D, and then if you're bullish, if your bias is bullish, that is back up. So that's like my default framework for what I see right now. One thing that would scare me is if we go sideways and then we get a move straight up, like relatively soon, because if we do that and then we go back down, then I'm like, oh fuck, was that a distribution top manipulation up to go market maker sell model
distribute down,
and then, like that's like
Ooh.
what I don't want to see.
Well, I get that. Could it also be considered accumulation with like an upward trend slightly? Like,
yeah, vertical accumulation is a thing. Like we saw that here. Like this is vertical accumulation, and in November.
Yeah.
Like accumulation doesn't have to be sideways. Like these things are a little bit loose.
Okay, because I think like if we want to get into actual trades, like what I think we like here, like one thing I've been looking at is Coinbase. Coinbase is dipped, but it's got earnings coming up first week of May, and I think people who have been following along with Coinbase are pretty confident that it's gonna just be a massive quarter that's gonna blow the doors off of the expectations.
That seems to be consensus in crypto.
Yeah, but I don't think that like Wall Streeters are really on board with it, and I can just like look at the research reports from all the big firms, and they're like expecting $4 of EPS for the full year, and I think they're going to put up $4 of EPS in the quarter. And if that aligns with what you're saying, which is like a bounce from here up to that long-term trend line, plus Coinbase hits that number, I mean, you could see a pretty sharp move in the stock, and
Yeah, I mean, let me gather my thoughts before I comment on that, because like I have actually been trying to weigh this in my mind, right? Because again, like this sort of Bitcoin squiggle I drew out is my default guiding thing in my head. It's the reason I've been telling people to slow down, because like I feel like one thing I'm relatively certain of is that we have time, possibly 6 months, if not more,
of this accumulation zone
/
manipulation
possibly a
down
dip at the end of that, right?
Yeah.
It's potentially a long time for a brain at this point that has been like hardwired and trained to just like get massive gains like on a daily basis almost, right?
Yeah.
Be very brutal for people. So I've been trying to get people's mindset to shift a little bit. I haven't been telling people to sell everything because I don't know that this is going to happen, but I do know that like this is not a fat pitch moment. Like this is not a time to be like full leveraging the portfolio,
right,
and going all in on these dips. Like it's just not. We could V reverse from here, and you hate me for saying that, and I could be wrong, of course. But like again, thinking in probabilities.
But I'm not even talking about a V. Like I'm not even talking about the V reversal. I'm talking about the bounce that you're like in on right now.
Yes. So my default assumption now, like again, like pulling up the Bitcoin chart, is that like I do think we see a bounce to 70, and I think a bunch of things could contribute to that bounce. Like I could maybe. It is hard to think that Coinbase could blow out earnings, and that bounce could just be like an exit bounce.
Right. Well, that's kind of what I'm suggesting. Is like
it's possible. Yeah, and
because like those earnings are backward looking, right? It's like what happened already.
Right. So the market's like, oh fuck yeah, but then it goes, wait a minute, that was last quarter.
Right. And I think you could get some opportunity there.
That makes sense to me. I like thinking about it like that. We haven't pulled up the coin chart yet, right?
No.
All right. So coin chart doesn't look super good on the daily. This laptop. I'm so sorry, guys. Pull this up here. Oh, I need to check these settings next time. Yeah. So I've been kind of calling out this gigantic order block for a while, along with the nested fair value gap within it.
Right.
And that is indeed exactly where we rejected from. One of the big moves I made before I went on vacation, and sorry for not telling you guys because I did it the day before I left. I didn't have a pod, but I did sell like a fuck ton of calls right around this level just because it's such a high level, and I was kind of nervous about the market, and I just wanted to hedge out more of my portfolio. And my coin position, it's like one of the easiest things to hedge because it's like a TradFi thing. I got like massive options liquidity.
It's amazing.
It's very
selling,
nice.
Selling calls on your common stock is fucking incredible.
I've basically, like, in all of my living expenses for the last 9 months have basically just been me hedging coin like at levels.
Fucking
like,
incredible. And then your
nice.
spot bag is up massively. So it's like your win.
So
win-win.
far, like, every hedge has worked perfectly, which is probably going to blow me out of the water at some point.
So let me ask you about that. When you do something like that, how far out do you go in terms of maturity when you're selling the calls?
It totally depends on, like, the level on the chart, and like, is it a monthly level? Is it like if it's a 4-hour level or something, I might do like days from now, right?
Yeah.
But if it's like a kind of monthly thing, you know, so what was that level? Got a weird alert. An alert that said buy S&P ? That's probably an old one.
No.
Yeah, I mean, I was just like, I think that's the high. I basically sold like 295s, I think, which is relatively close to the money when I sold them. I actually put on another trade today. I sold, I think this is for May 3rd, but I was planning on closing them out before options. I think I sold 265s to buy 180 puts.
Okay, that's bearish as fuck.
So I basically got paid to hedge my entire position for the next, before earnings. And I lose if before earnings we run that high.
Yeah.
And get like a decent amount above it. Do I think that's very likely? No, I really like that trade. As I said, on the daily here, again, like this is not a particularly great thing, right? You put in this high, you kind of have like a weak close above it into a high time frame zone, and like you can see, like there's very nice symmetry there. Like look at where the daily close is, like basically at the mid range of that nested fair value gap, and then we have a fair value gap down, displacement down,
yep,
and then big displacement down, and actually take out this low, right? So this looks a lot like a topping formation to me. So yeah, to your point, yeah, maybe good earnings comes up, maybe even run this high again, but that would be very this is like a very like Wyckoffean thing where you kind of like put in this high and you run the low, but then you like run the high after running that low, up thrust,
and it'd be like a scam.
Sometimes you do it again, up thrust after distribution.
It'd be kind of like a scam pump though.
Yeah, it like traps people very hard. So something to keep an eye out for. Like this whole zone here, we did not. All of these levels here are basically untouched. Like this is the first thing that catches my eye around like 175. But in reality, this entire move down that we had kind of to start the year during that Hal sell all of the crypto proxy sell off. This whole thing has basically never been touched.
Yeah.
We had this summer too, if you recall. We kind of like just tapped the very top of a zone like this and then went up only.
Yeah, I think it was like 115 or something like that.
So that put you at like 187.
Yeah.
Realistically, 150 is kind of
that's
mid-range
the top of
that zone.
Okay.
It's kind of like the mid range of the zone.
That's the mid range of that zone.
And if we go in there, like this is still like a very bullish, higher time frame structure. So it's not going to concern me. But again, it's like a very high vol stock. Like it's not crazy for this thing to go 280 to 150.
God, that would fucking hurt though. Hurt me.
Oh, it hurt a lot of people.
Oh.
Hurt a lot of people for sure. But like I think a lot of people would be happy if they don't have bags and they get to fill them a little bit.
Yeah.
Again, these are just ideas, of course. Like if some things that could happen. There's some unexpected peace event in the Middle East, and then I think the QRA is in May, and Janet just decides they're like, look, they could just basically just rig the election starting in May.
Yeah.
And then you get some like strong earnings on the S&P, and then everybody just decides like, oh wait, the melt up's back on.
Because I feel like we all also know that like the election's coming. There's fucking gonna be money printing forever. Like we all also know that. So
yeah, we're all playing this game of chicken where like we know what the future holds. And
right.
We're trying to like pack our bags, knowing where everything is going, but we're packing our bags in these mega high vol assets where even if we're right about the future, they still nuke us like 50% in like a month when we're on the wrong side of that. That's like very, very painful. And I think right now everybody's still feeling good because they still have all of their gains, right? For the most part, everybody's still doing pretty well. And it's easy to be like, oh, I'm going to buy the dip and I'm still bullish about the future. But then like some of these things do like a full retrace on you, and then you buy a dip on the way down and then that dip goes under. And then suddenly you're like, whoa, what happened to all my gains?
Yeah,
and
how am I red?
Start panicking.
Yeah, what the hell?
Yeah, which is why it's good to stack some cash when these things happen and not just use it to buy dips, but just to put it in your bank and like don't even touch it. Because then you can't fuck up and just buy the dip on the way back down, right? And oftentimes, like you will get in a situation where you look around you and you go, "Oh, actually, this is the bottom." Like now I see it. Like it doesn't like it feels like the bottom at first and it's not the bottom, and it feels like the bottom at first and it's not the bottom, and then like there's like a thing where you're like, "Oh."
It usually like that moment usually lines up for me when I'm like so mad. I'm like, fuck this.
And if you forcibly remove the cash from your hands so that you can't like be like, no, that was the bottom. Oh God, Solana just bottomed at 120. I got to go all in now at 130, and then it dips to 80, or something like that, right? Like if you remove that cash from your hands and you can't do that, it allows you to like actually see the consecutive dips that do happen and the people like posting their like, oh my God, I went bankrupt on Twitter. I can't believe it stories, and then you have like a 3 arrows thing or something. Like the big concern right now in crypto is probably like Athena, yeah. It is. I never touched it. I never farmed it. I never bought the token. I have Luna PTSD for sure. I understand that it is fundamentally different from Luna, but also like there are things like, look, I'm not like a gigabrain enough to be able to explain to you everything that could happen, right? But like I see a protocol that is basically doing something that's like never been done before, right? And they're trying to basically do this basis trade and then just size it up to infinity, right? Like doing all these things to attract more TVL. And one of the weird things about this is like that the bigger you get, right, the more you compress the basis. Like if you attract more TVL, then you're basically nuking your
unless
yield.
They just lever up like maniacs, which is probably what they're going to end up doing, and which will probably lead to its demise.
Well, no, like I don't think there's any like levering up. It's like even if you just do the basic, if you just do the trade, right? The more you do the trade, like the more you squish the basis, and then the lower the yield.
Yeah, I guess now that I think about it, when you lever up that trade, I mean you're still taking both sides of it. So
yeah, like
you're going long spot.
They're long spot and short
the
futures, right?
Yeah.
But I don't think the trade is like exactly market neutral, right? 'Cause like I think right now we're in like negative funding, so that trade is losing money.
They're losing,
right?
Yeah.
But they do have like a fund. But if it goes more negative or persists to be negative, then they start selling spot, and when they sell spot, they will close out futures. But like I don't think that the futures being closed is going to have the same impact to the upside that the dumping of all that spot is going to have to the downside.
I agree with that, but I also don't think funding is going to remain negative for very long. But, that's the kind of thing that
if what I'm saying could happens, then funding could go negative for like 3, 4, 5, 6 months.
We've never seen that before, right? And I mean, but it could happen.
No, what are you talking about?
6 months of negative funding?
Yeah.
Really?
Like the fucking bear market.
In the bear market, it was always negative?
God, it's just negative. Yes. Oh. It's like basically negative, like all the time. So yeah, like I don't know what happens there when you have and to some extent, like I don't know if I want to sit around and find out, right? And you have to stay away from like long-term leverage if you think that that's kind of like if you're an ETH holder and you think some weird event like that could cause some Six Sigma sell-off where you end up at like $1,500 ETH. Then you can't be like on your maker vaults like 2x levered, at 4K being like, oh, it'll never dip below 2K again, so I'm fine.
Yeah.
And then lo and behold, you blow it up. And then all the people who put that trade, like that's how this stuff like compounds into these like fireballs, because like everybody thinks this thing can't happen. Then the exogenous Athena type event does happen. And not only does that nuke the market, but then everybody who went levered long thinking that the market couldn't nuke because of that, well, then they all puke.
Right. So it's
and
just
then
a liquidity cascade.
It turns into like a mega cascade.
Yeah. That could happen.
Yeah. Now the good thing is like there's not as much leverage in the system as there was in 2021 by any stretch, as far as I can tell. There's already been like a pretty big washout and all. It's like I actually think there's like a scenario where Bitcoin can kind of go down, and like Solana goes down like the same as Bitcoin. Like that's possible to me. Like if stuff gets washed enough. It's like you saw this in like some of the stonks, right? It's like some of the really shit stonks got washed mega hard to start, and then by the time like the majors started rolling over, some of these like shit stonks had been rinsed so badly that there just like weren't any sellers left, and they actually didn't keep outperforming to the downside at a certain point. So you can definitely get dynamics like that for sure. Let me pop in the chat for a second here. I want to make sure I'm not missing any commentary from anybody. How's everybody doing? Hopefully this is good content for you.
They said it was like a live tutoring session.
Yeah, we try to educate and entertain over here.
I thought that XAMD thing was so cool, man. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Oh, Tunsky. Kind words from Tunsky. Love it. Anyway, yeah, we were talking about coin. Dude, here's another thing on coin. Like, God. These fucking standard deviation projections, man. Like,
are they just hitting?
Look at this shit. Look at the -4.
We went to the 4 level.
It lines up. Like, look at the weekly close. The highest weekly close is literally to the dot on that.
Wow,
it's crazy.
So
by the way, if anybody's wondering how you draw this might be one of those things where like I give you just enough information to destroy yourself. You know. You can't just do these all over the time and they work like magic. They're like super context dependent, and it's, you know,
yeah, it's
kind of like a Dunning-Kruger thing, maybe. Where it's like better to remain like completely retarded.
Well, do you use those range projections off of the highs on the way down as well, like, or are you mostly just looking at like order blocks, like how you drew it up already? Like
this is kind of like the setup I like to use them on. So this is like a bottom and like kind of like an accumulation here. What I like to see is like, so this is a breaker on the weekly. See this? So this is like an up close candle before you get a manipulation move down, right? So this is a manipulation move because you've got your breaker, and then you've got this impulsive sell off, fair value gap here, run the low, back up. So this is manipulation, right?
Yep.
So now you can map this leg from the bottom of the leg to the top of the breaker.
Okay.
Right. Things get a little dicey here. There's some argument. Do you use the wicks? Do you do this with the bodies?
Right.
I think it's context dependent. It's kind of like if there's like mega long wicks, I don't know, right? But then you're basically targeting the 2 to 2.5 for your first target, and look at that.
Right in the middle of it.
Boom. Look, like see how that doesn't close above the mid range of that. So, you know, pretty good. And then you're mapping out the 4 as like the final target. And usually once you extend, usually I just go to the 2.5, and then if I see the price move beyond that, right, with like a close, then it's a signal to me that it's going for
4's in play.
For 4 on that leg.
Yeah.
But like I usually don't trade a leg beyond 4. So at this point I'm like, you know, like you can go past 4 for sure, but at this point I'm like, there's not amazing risk reward in coin here, because you've done this 4x leg. You are in the midst of this gigantic sell zone. You've been going up only for 6 months. It probably needs time to cool off.
It cools off, and then it goes back down into that order block that you drew up, and then we start all over again with a breaker and a manipulation, and
hopefully it's that easy.
I mean, I like it, dude.
Hopefully it's that easy.
This is really cool.
Yeah, you get these setups a lot. Like you had the exact same setup here too. Like look, you have you got your little, this is obvious accumulation, and then look, you got a breaker, and then you got the manipulation down, and whoop, and there we go.
Yeah, I wonder if you would have.
And price just on the retrace, it doesn't make it back to the breaker. It actually respects the mid range of this breaker here and just takes off. You know, so just a little more stuff for you guys. Hopefully that's useful. Oh my God, we've been going for an hour and a half. Fuck. God. Noah's asking, would you short the market at this point? No, I would definitely not short the market at this point, Noah.
You're long. You're playing the bounce.
I'm long right now. I'm playing a bounce. I think risk reward on long's pretty good. Bitcoin's dumping on me as I say this. Yeah, I mean, I really, like I said, like I want it. I mean, ideally I would like to see like a run of those highs, sweep in here, and then kind of come back up to this zone. Will it be that easy for me? I don't know. But like I said, like this is not like a amazing formation to short, right? You kind of get this like spike down and then rounded bottom after you've already like wiped these like high time frame levels on alts. Like this is not where you short. It's just not.
I feel like though, if the bounce plays out like you're planning, then you might have an amazing setup for a short.
Yeah, like there's some coins I have my eye on shorting, like Phantom. I think is one of them. I think Phantom has like an interesting potential setup for a short. You know, you're basically just like looking for a bounce up into this zone here, and then down. You know, like this whole leg, right, on like a very high time frame is just like a gigantic order block. So something up into there. You know, usually when price moves this rapidly through and like takes like its draw on liquidity, it does retrace up and it gives like another test of this level at some point to get in. If it's at the very bottom of the zone or like, you know, 90, I don't know, you know, probably higher.
And you're probably just doing the perps on Bybit with this.
Yeah. Like this is just kind of my, like, it's just my default framework right now. I think market rips up. Like I feel like there's just like an air of like complacency in the air to me. Like I go in the Discord, everybody's still having a very good time. Everybody's trading meme coins still. Everybody's like vibing, and then like it goes up, and it's like, oh, here we go. It's just another buy the dip. LOL. Get richer. I don't know. That's the thing I'm concerned with. And I'm not selling everything, but like I probably do want to be like if I get a bounce, like I probably want to be like 70% cash, I think. And like I don't really want to be holding anything other than some like long-term DEGEN shit I have, like maybe some Doge or Pepe. There's a couple like long-term plays I have. Tay's asking for thoughts on Hood. I haven't looked at Hood in a while. I'm guessing it's not looking super hot at the
Hood
moment.
not good?
Yeah, Hood's had some not the worst thing in the world. Yeah, I don't know. I'm still like pretty long-term bullish on this thing.
Me too.
It's going to be dips. I still have it. I think dips are cool for adding if you get the chance on this bad boy. So nothing too crazy there. I'm gonna pop into my notes real quick here. Just make sure I didn't miss anything for you guys. What did I want to talk about? Oh, Tucker. Yeah, let's get to the. Oh my God, we're supposed to do a discussion on. Oh, this show is too long. This show's too long. I want to hit runes real quick because I know people wanted to talk about runes. Let's just hit some of the viewer questions. Are you familiar with runes?
It's something on Bitcoin, yeah.
It is something on Bitcoin.
Yeah, I'm not familiar.
We'll keep this very high level for people.
Okay.
You familiar with ordinals?
Yes.
Okay. So ordinals basically allowed you to make NFTs on Bitcoin.
Yep.
People made BRC20s. You remember BRC20s?
Yep.
I had a bad incident buying BRC20s and probably lost like 70% of everything I put in. And I was like, fuck this
Just
shit.
because price went down? It wasn't like a
Yeah,
scam?
but like I used them and I was also like, oh, this is terrible. It was like you had to like sell, like imagine you wanted to buy like a BRC20 token. Like people, it would be like a marketplace. You'd be buying like 1,000 pack or something. Like you couldn't sell.
There's no like
one
decentralized exchange or something?
No, it's like you couldn't buy or sell like one individual coin. Like you're doing them in these like weird packs, and the UX it was just bad. And I was just like, what have I done?
Okay.
I just gotta cut my losses on this shit. Anyway, runes is from the the based ordinals dev. Casey, what's his face, and it's basically like ordinals is the NFTs, and then like runes is going to basically be like fungible tokens, effectively.
This is like BRC20s, but done properly.
Yeah. So this is one of those things that could be like a Bitcoin catalyst for sure. I think people have their eye on it, right? But you think about like having plus runes, and the one of the scenarios I talked about was that like Bitcoin is fine and then everything else just keeps dying, and then people go like, oh my god, and then just the whole world just panics into Bitcoin,
right?
And every Bitcoiner's wet dream just comes to pass. Like,
yeah, I could totally see that, and like runes becomes like the new meta for all of crypto. I could see that scenario.
Yeah, I mean, like his philosophy on it is like pretty interesting. Because he hates shitcoins, kind of, and he's a Bitcoin guy.
Every Bitcoiner hates.
But he's basically
shitcoins.
like, look, like people like the casino. Like I may as well bring the casino to Bitcoin, so that at least the casino is accretive to the value of Bitcoin. Because I know people are going to degen, and it's just like a part of the game. And
smirt.
Yeah, so you're going to have like some sort of crazy meme coin season, I'm sure on runes. And I guess we'll have to just play that as it comes. I think it basically launches with the halvening block, is my understanding.
That's like
couple
in a matter of days? Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. I haven't checked
that could be
when exactly.
Fucking massive, dude. I can't wait for the miners to actually get some transaction revenue, and like their business model actually becomes real and sustainable.
Yeah, so the most interesting part about runes to me isn't necessarily that I'm really eager to just buy a bunch of shit coins on Bitcoin. Like, it's the miners. I still do think that miners are going to be like an incredible play, and I haven't gotten back into them yet. But I don't know if the market is going to price in the sheer volume of degeneracy and like what it could do to the fee market. And not just the fee market, but like I know that there's these like we talked about how Mara has like this like network set up where you can kind of like, you used to have to like have like these direct relationships with miners to like buy a whole block or something, and now it's becoming like a commoditized thing. And I could see these fee markets getting like more and more advanced, and like just, and it's like I think too, like if you are like a big ETH maxi, like you have to see this, and if this starts like exploding and like again like fees keep popping up, like that was one of the main kind of like giant question marks for Bitcoin long term, is like, what is this long term security budget thing to be, right? So if you see that and you're like, oh, that's not a thing anymore, well, you have to adjust your mental weighting. Like you just have to hold more Bitcoin relative to ETH, I think, like if you are sort of like a balanced non-religious person, because I just think the probabilities are a little bit different there. So I'm sure, Johnny in the chat, 420 baby, 22 hours. So
22 hours away. Jesus.
420 happening, man. You just can't make this shit up.
Yeah, right.
I love it. I had a few more questions from people in the Discord on Twitter. I'll hit those like real quick so that we don't go like 18 hours here. What else we got? Somebody wanted to look at the DEGEN chart. I like DEGEN, man. This is actually one of these bags I've been thinking about. Actually, I own a little bit. I have been buying, so it's not even a thought right now.
This is Farcaster, right?
Yeah. I mean, the daily chart is still just so young as far as the exchange, and everything down here is like, it went up like 1,000x or something stupid. These are the types of prices I think where you just DCA. I mean, we're down 60%, and we peaked. We already went down 73% from highs, right? So I think this is kind of like, worst selling is probably over. It's probably not going to be reverse. It's probably this thing is so volatile, right? It can go up and down like 50-60% in a span of like a couple of days. It's kind of fun to trade. Like it just prints like 25% days, like all over the place, actually. But yeah, like one of the things I'm generally wanting exposure to as I kind of go through this reaccumulation cycle is like I want more exposure to base.
Yes.
And I'm looking for things to buy on base.
So is it just meme coins that you'd buy? Because there's nothing really like...
Well, I don't really consider DEGEN to be a meme coin.
Okay, right, because there's an actual like product.
It's at least a narrative there.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, I don't know. There's other stuff. What do you have? Aerodrome? on base. Like I don't know. Like I didn't touch that because it just went up so much. I just couldn't bring myself to. Yeah, I was looking at it at the peak there. So we're 30. And we're actually not down that. Like this chart actually doesn't look that bad.
What is this? What's Aerodrome?
This is Aerodrome. It's a. I believe it's a DEX on. I think it's the main DEX on base.
Oh,
you know.
okay.
This is kind of like summer Bitcoin chart vibes, where you're like, oh, maybe it's gonna run that low, but maybe not. I don't know. This chart does not look bad. But like ideally, I would want to see like some sort of maybe like nuke below that level, reclaim something like that. I like really like to see this is for a trade though. Like I want to have like a invalidation, but I don't have a problem like kind of averaging in at this price. So that looks like an interesting interesting play for
base exposure. I agree.
Ali, Arrow is base, bro. I know Ali. I know. Holding strong. It is. This is like one of the stronger alt charts I've looked at. Actually, gives me hope for base. Yeah, even Toshi was doing okay for a while. I think it's kind of started to roll over a little bit though.
Oof.
I had a nice run, man. Oh, geez. I don't know if this Poloniex Toshi chart is super accurate. Actually, let me pull it up on Dex Screener. Yes, Armand. I still like to. Oh my God, man, my Toshi bags were worth a lot of money while I was on vacation, and I didn't sell any.
So long.
Yeah, look, I'm still very into the meme thesis. I just think that there might be a lot of pain. Like I feel like Whiff is probably gonna dump to. Mid dollars. It feels like one of those kind of like pukey capitulation type charts. I bought a little bit on this dip and sold it. Like it, yeah. But like I would love to buy. I would love to buy somebody's pain in these things because like I've seen the meme frenzy. I've seen what it does to people. I've seen how much they love it. And I know that we haven't had like a full meme cycle with all the people outside from crypto coming in yet. And I've gotten like a taste of it like with my friends and they really love it. And I just know it's going to be like a drug for people.
And I can totally see, in the near term, like a bleed out where people think, oh, that was so dumb. Memes were so dumb. And that's the time that you want to be buying.
Chad is telling me that there are explosions being heard in central Iran. So I'm about to lose a fuck ton of money.
Oh, God.
That's great. Thank you, Israel.
Wow. Didn't have to do that.
It's like they don't even care about my altcoin portfolio.
Oh shit.
Yeah. Well, knew that was a risk of buying here. So, such is life. All right, let me hit one more thing on the questions. All right, somebody asked for the AVAX chart. This was a thing I was buying before. Kind of held off on it a bit, but I think it looks, this is kind of a sketchy chart now. Yeah, I get nervous whenever we come into a level with like that much momentum. And we'll see how the weekly closes, but like if this weekly closes with like this gap here, I don't know, man. It makes me feel like we're gonna run that $26 low, maybe tag 22 or something. So I'm no longer accumulating that one, but good luck to you if you have it. Good luck to you. All right, well, I'm gonna end the show there and go assess like how much money I'm down. But
go exit all markets.
Yeah. Thank you everybody for joining us and watching me lose money live on the air. Always a pleasure. All links at alfalfapod.com. If you want to join the Discord, do not forget to like the video and do give me a follow on Twitter at 0xmagiclines. Eric doesn't tweet, so
I'll see you in the Discord.
He'll just talk to you in the Discord, so chat with him there. Thank you everybody for joining us. Hope that was a good episode for you. Good luck to you all over the next 6 days. Bye bye.
So long.